Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Oh, it sounds weird. I'm so loud. It's been probably a hectic day. You're going between workshops to workshops, talks to talks, and now this talk is about you. So let's kind of center and ground yourself. If you're here, maybe you're going through some career confusions yourself. So just name one thing that's actually going well in your career so far.
To yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
So just as we're here, we're going to be talking about careers, which is oftentimes a sensitive topic, so it can be vulnerable. So please approach this with openness and curiosity. And if we do ask you to talk to the person next to you, approach it with confidentiality. Of course, it's a small tech space. So if someone's saying, I have a not so great job, maybe keep it confidential. And then we might ask for you to do exercises. If you don't have a pen and paper, just pull out your phone, and you can. And we also have some as well. Let's get started.
That sounds quite serious, doesn't it? And so, I mean, we are biological systems, and it really sort of comes down to every action that you have a reaction to that, and that will drive you, whether that be touching a hot tap and making you move your hand away, or you having a pleasant work experience or a not so pleasant work experience. Sort of guides where you're starting to move with your career.
So yeah, why do people generally shift jobs or careers? So oftentimes it's forced. So it's forced and lifestyle driven, whether it's visa reasons, whether it's health reasons, family, relocation, or forced by employer, whether it's layoffs and like restructuring, redundancies. But there's also the choices that we do make, and oftentimes we are doing choices away from something, whether it's a manager, a boring job, burnout, a toxic team, or a choice towards something, towards a more meaningful job, towards more applied skills and career, a healthier workplace, more financial stabilities, and maybe career options and growth. So the idea is we want to be moving towards.
Would you like me to do that?
I can do it. Okay. The idea is to move towards an opportunity versus away from a job, a role, a company, and a manager. And of course, like I'm not saying if it's super, super bad, stick it through. Of course, there are exceptions to this case. But the idea is that we want to be going towards something and not away from something. So I always say the moment to leave a job is when not leaving is also an option. We want to be approaching it with a sense of curiosity versus a sense of urgency. So it's ideal to try to make it work where you are, get in this like safe thinking space, have conversations, experiment, and then build slowly towards that shift that you want. So first, patience. It's a lesson I wish I knew earlier in my career, but now I know it and I try to say it.
And of course, we don't want to be Pollyanna about that, because we have to be sort of real. Everything has context, and we have to think about the weather, And I think we can all agree that the last 5 years are not going to be the same as the next 5 years. There's a real shift in that kind of human automation balance. I know, like for example, Shopify are now saying that they won't put out new job posts, and if they can automate that role, there's they're leveraging we are leveraging technology's strengths, and it's been a hugely beneficial thing to us working in the tech sector. But that preservation of sort of human skills and its importance is under stress. The creativity and the judgment. Does a human have a better perception of whether something's right or wrong, or does the model? And unless it's got some sort of positive or negative confusion matrix that will mean that it'll be a more expensive thing for the business, it tends to be that it will be devolved to the computer. And that makes decisions stressed, and you don't make great decisions when you're stressed. There are three forces that are really starting to come into play with employers having more power at the moment in the dynamic than employees. There's an assumption that if you go back into the office and you are that you'll work better and you'll be more productive. But actually, what is found is that when people feel surveyed, they're more likely to actually spend their time trying to avoid that surveillance than being more productive. And I personally would say, like, let's kill the bad meetings rather than killing remote work. But we're not going to start a riot today. It's also neglecting employee well-being. There's this idea that DEI schemes are kind of financial sort of nice-to-haves that you only do when the sun is shining. But 76% of employees say that they experience burnout at some point, and up to 50% say that they experience it regularly. So we see it as this black swan event, burnout. You get to this moment. But actually, I think we have to accept the fact that we're all feeling pretty burnt out all the time. So I say kind of pat on your back, the fact that you're here at a work-related event on a Saturday, even though it really is my favourite festival that we go to. And the other important factor, not just emotionally, but for the bottom line, is that it can cost up to 200% of someone's annual salary to replace you. So it's important to see to retain as much staff as you possibly can. The World Health Organization estimates that workplace anxiety and depression cost the global economy $1 trillion a year. So that's a figure that I know has been chucked around in the Middle East this week as a big thing. And there's this replaceable worker mindset. Actually, businesses, I think, should be thinking about their staff as like a customer retention. So if you start thinking about churn and the huge amount of technology and brain power that goes into trying to minimize customer churn, the same sort of approach should be put towards staff, because even though businesses are trying to shed people, the fact is the top quartile of people, MIT Sloan have recently published a report to say that the top 75% of that top talent basket are still moving. So there's still people moving because they want new innovations. They want to, they want to be inspired by their next project. So, as I say, the weather. We're conscious of the fact that it's not time for a good harvest right now. So I do have one little more thing to say. So the good news is that we're all in the intelligence business. I'm assuming we're self-selecting being here at a data science festival, and we can deploy that to our advantage as much as we do to anyone else's. We've sort of, and I'm just saying generally in the world, we've moved to a point where opinions have become very powerful. But actually, I say let's go to a facts first. Find the intelligence and the facts and use those to help you to make decisions on where you next want to go. And it isn't binary. It's not like the Cheshire Cat, you go one way and you've won gold, the other way the game's over. It's curvy. Careers are curvy. Sometimes things feel like they're negatively weighted. You get into a position, you think, oh, this isn't really what I wanted. But the way you shift and you move out of there, well, that's how we evolve. So yeah, feel free to experiment. So we have set the scene for you.
So if you're ready to do some exercises, one exercise is kind of, you can think about sketching your career lifeline. So positive-ish work experiences, negative-ish work experiences, and how did it kind of go for you throughout your career. And then we'll give you like a few minutes. If anyone wants paper or pens, just
put your hand up.
Put your hands up. And then we're going to ask you to think about a few questions. So looking at your shifts and moves, what were the key drivers of these career transitions? Are there any patterns that you can identify about yourself? Maybe I tend to stay for just like a year and a bit, and I'm always looking. Maybe I'm gravitating more towards healthcare. So any patterns you identify, or maybe I like more people-centered roles versus just a data-focused role. So any patterns you identify about like your transitions, or maybe I've been making decisions based on like a sense of panic versus intention. And then lastly, think about what do you know now about your needs and preferences. It's kind of kind of building on the previous questions. So I like to work in bigger companies. I like to work in startups. So just we'll give you a few minutes. There's a lot today, so we're going to give you a few tools. Some might resonate, some might not resonate, and then hopefully that can kind of help.
Yeah, I mean, when we did this before, I realised I'm someone who likes to build things. I don't like to be the one who manages the garden. I just want to build the garden. And you might find that you see that. You know, I enjoy learning because I like learning new things. But I'm not really interested in reminding myself of the things that I've learned on a daily anatomical level. There could be lots of things like that. And phone notes are always a great way of doing this, and just keeping these as a ready reckoner to yourself.
And then when you're ready, like, share with your partner. We're going to give you like 5 minutes, so we're not going to spend too much on this. But yeah, we want to hear some buzz in the room. I want some reflections, some thinking.
You always want reflections.
I always want. I want hard questions. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry. If anyone wants.
Oh, did you want some paper?
Yeah,
of course. Yep, and you'll want 2 pens, right?
Of course. Oh, thank you. Could
I just grab it?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
There you go. Does anybody else want some paper? I've got. No.
I didn't. 5 minutes is enough, right? We're on microphone. It's like in the OHT event when it was like, there's sound. I'm like, okay, you created that sound.
I think he might turn our microwave off. I think he might have turned them off.
Oh,
Do you think? Did you turn it off? Turn it off.
I think. All right. We're good.
I don't know.
We can go. Is it working? Oh, okay. All right, guys. Thank you.
Back in the room, people.
Does anyone need any more time? Sorry, I'll be loud.
Yeah, you. Sorry. I think we're
delighted that you're in a sharing mood. So,
your face is like, oh no, we're stopping.
we're not stopping. We're just pausing. So We're going to move on to the next part, which is going to build on the
we're-
conversations you're having. We're going to
Yeah, we're gonna keep building. We're gonna keep building, and you can keep talking to the person next to you. So now that we've kind of talked about like where you were and kind of the decisions that you've made, maybe the question is next, like where do I go from here? Where do I travel from here? So we've kind of built this framework around, let's understand where you are now and understand what's missing, and then know your constraints and the reality you're in, and then think about, reflect about what actionable steps can I take? What's within my control?
This is the difficult bit. This is the, okay.
So I spend a lot of time thinking about what is career, like how can we achieve career satisfaction? And I think it's hard to get everything right all the time, But usually I think it's about alignment, about the why I work. So if I'm working because I want to create impact around people's health and my job is achieving that, cool. Sometimes there are multiple whys. Or my why is to basically secure financial independence for me and my family, then my why is met. So if the why you're working is meeting your intentions, then maybe you score high on the why I work. And then about what I work on. If what I work on means that the field you're engaging in. If you love the field of data and you're in the field of data, that's amazing. Or if you're in like finance or healthcare, it's kind of like, are you enjoying the jargon and the the topics you're reading about? Do you find yourself really watching more YouTube videos, reading papers, really like buying books on the side, and you're really enjoying that world you're immersing yourself in? That's cool. That's what I work on. And then it has to align with the how I work. So, for example, I was talking to an economist who loved economics, like loves the field, super like geeks out about the field. However, she realized like being an economist day to day, she's not interacting with a lot of people. She's sitting there researching and really by herself all day long. So she realized like the world I love, the what, but the how is not resonating with me. So she needed to go and change careers to a career that actually utilizes her strengths in numbers and like analytical strengths, but needs to be more people-facing because she was missing that. So is the how I work really aligning to how you want to work? And then when I work, like that's kind of it. I feel like it gets, it's not one is less, but one is like maybe around the time schedule. Am I in consulting and I have no idea when I can stop working? Is my next week predictable, not predictable? Does that type of work for you? And sometimes these things change for us. Like we change as we're going through our careers. Maybe a consulting job where I'm traveling all the time was amazing when I first started, and if I want to start a family, that might not be good for me. So really, like these things can change throughout our careers. And then where I work, like is the location, the city, from home, not from home, and that goes around the idea of autonomy. So some of us want that like ability to choose, and if you feel too constricted, maybe that doesn't sit. Some people really like to go to the office, for example. So thinking about, is where I work aligning with my situation right now? And then who I work with, and that's really crucial. How do I feel about the people around me? Like, based on the self-motivation theory, connection to like what keeps us motivated, connection to the people, to the purpose is so crucial to keeping us motivated on a daily basis. So if we don't feel that connection with the people in our team or the company or the industry, like maybe there's some thinking to do there. Like, how can I find more people like me in the tribe where I can resonate with? So, introducing you to this hexagon of career satisfaction, I'll give you just a few minutes to reflect. Like, how do I score on each element of this hexagon? So we'll just
talk to each other.
Talk to each other. You can share. So maybe we'll give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes is
sure.
good.
If you have any questions, yeah, pen.
I'll go and get a pen. Okay, so we think you've got quite a bit of food for thought. You've got quite a bit of food for thought as we're going into lunch. We've got about 15 minutes left, and so we just want to run through a few more things that you can take away with you. And we're going to try and see if we can keep the last 5 minutes for questions, because we're brave like that.
Yeah, we'll try.
Yeah.
So constraints. I mean, yeah, we figured out where we are, and if we do want to make a shift, of course we need to think about money, time, health, family, risk tolerance, and we also need to think about our skills. And the way some people come to me in coaching is like, okay, I don't know what I'm good at, and I don't know where to grow. There's so much to learn. And then what I like to think about is like interest and skills. So think about, what am I good at and want to grow into? What am I not good at and still want to grow into? That's the blue. What am I good at and actually I don't want to grow into that? Like, I'm good with people, but I really don't want to grow into that. Or I'm not good at it and don't want to grow into it. So which hopefully this, I kind of took this from a delegation framework, like how to delegate as a manager, and kind of translated it into how do you select where to grow in your career. So it's really hard to do this in 5 minutes, but take a picture and do it whenever you want. And then lastly, like when you do make the you want to take a picture, sorry.
Yeah, more than two.
Yeah, it's a good reflection, because I really think like if you do enjoy something, you'll do better at it. So there's no point deciding, oh, I want to grow in this field, and I actually couldn't. I have to force myself to go finish this course. Like sometimes you're forcing because it's hard, but you need to enjoy it, you know. And then finally, like focusing on things you can control and not things you can't control. So if the who is like, oh my God, I don't like my manager, you can't control changing your manager. What you can actually control is like your thoughts, your mindset, your actions, what you choose to learn, your attitude. So really, like you can't control the market, but you can control like other aspects. So focus on what you can control, and then also food for thought. So like when you do kind of have done this reflection, thinking about, imagine you can plan your ideal track. What part of this hexagon do you want to prioritize problem solving? I wouldn't try to fix everything at the same time, but kind of focusing on what you would want to prioritize and fixing. And then think about like, what does your day-to-day look like in that case if you do decide to shift? What pleases you and what also still annoys you, because we don't want to paint the picture like if I shift jobs then it's going to be perfect. No, it's actually, you'll still have other things to navigate, and it's never going to be perfect. It's about kind of, it's life. I mean, it's just going to be like that, and accepting that as well.
I do feel like I'm the dower in the room, because I'm always like, yeah, but back to reality. We've got lots of inspiration that we could share with you, but we were really pleased actually, because before we were like, do we do more of our knowledge, or do we get you to share your knowledge with each other? And I really feel like it's been better for you to have some time doing that. So. What I just want to say is like success is where preparation and opportunity meet. There is a Welsh gentleman called Ross, Ross, who in 1817, I think it was, he came up with this idea of the 888. And you sometimes hear people mention it, the fact that you should work for 8 hours, you should rest for 8 hours, and the other 8 hours should be where you prepare yourself for those other 16 hours of the day. And I think if you can find a point in your day or in your week where you've got 20 minutes you could give to yourself, or 30 minutes, you can start to iteratively build up and work to those things that you've started to think about within your hexagon of the things that you can control. Would you mind saying that? So tool selection. I mean, I feel like this with every data intelligence project that I ever take on is, I'm so interested in finding new things, and I have to remind myself, like, is it useful? And as well as being interesting, but I've kind of said now, actually, I'm just going to say, is the juice worth squeezing? Is the information that you're going to get out of doing something going to be worthwhile? So it's always worth bearing that in mind when you're thinking about tools you might use to use this. So obviously, it feels like it wouldn't be a presentation without some word cloud in there somewhere. What we've done is, I've got the scripts. If you want, you can message me afterwards, and I'll share it with you. But what we've done is we've said, look, well, people tell you to network, go and network. I say it like I don't think it's a great idea. I think it's a lovely idea. But sometimes you need a bit of targeting and working out how you're going to go and where you're going to go. And things like conferences are a great source for you of intelligence. So we've scraped using a public information that was out in the public, and it's definitely GDPR compliant. We've scraped the 33 profiles of the speakers that are here today, and we've pulled out information and insights, which is really interesting, just about where their career paths are. And all that is let's scrape it, let's use a LinkedIn actor that can then pull this information in for us, so we can see like how quickly they got to, I don't know, head of data science, what jobs they went to, whether there were companies that maybe I should be looking towards. There's a great blog post that I'm happy to share, talking about which companies make the best product managers. And it's interesting to look at things like where people have gone out and become founders. So I'm not saying like just rape and pillage LinkedIn, but if people are putting public information out there and if you're pulling it without cookies, then it's interesting. You've got people out there that you don't have to go and talk to. You can just look at how they've got to where they've got to. This is, as I just mentioned, we've just captured this and started to build a network map out on where they are. But I'm sure you can make much, much prettier ones than these. But this is just one web scrape. So we'll just move on. And so, please.
Yeah, so having this inspiration, I always like to say evolution, not revolution. Like, don't go quit your jobs and just do the next thing. Like, ask yourself, what could you do next if you could not fail, and what small steps could get you closer to that, and finally, like, what system could you put in place to hold you accountable? And do we have time to give them a few minutes?
Yeah, we do. I
would like you to leave with like one small step to actually bring you closer to fixing that thing in your hexagon. And yeah, few minutes, right? And just we have a couple of minutes. 10 minutes left. Yeah, and like 2 more.
Ready to finish the session. Okay, we've got a few more. I want to press that, but you've got it. Okay, so we're about to obviously we've got some questions. We're going to let you ask us some questions if you want to, but we're about to send you out to lunch, which is perfect feeding for putting some of this into practice. But when you think about making connections, it's always worth thinking about, like, do you want to do it pre-event or post-event as well? You can always follow up with people who've been talking and say, I really liked your talk, or whatever you might choose to do. But also, it's worth remembering what the value exchange is. We had a recruiter who told us this, like, they find it so more engaging when they're talking with potential people that they might help, when there's a value exchange. What are you bringing to me? Obviously, they're bringing you as an amazing potential, but sharing information, showing you've got insights is always really helpful to them. And then we've got one last slide, which is about being handy. So I hate networking, to be honest, in that I'm not very good at doing it very well. I always feel like I've left things out there on the field. And this was given to me, and I just still think it's one of the best things that's, it always sticks in my mind anyway, about like the secret of being a good networker. You want to sort of stick out, so wear something that's a conversational piece if you've got time before you arrived here. Make sure that you have a reason for being there. Ask that person, you know, it's about mattering. So, you know, what is it that you're looking to do here? And share what you're trying to get out of the night. You know, it's fine, you're in a networking environment, like people are here for their own personal reasons. Keep the circle open. So make sure there's room for other people to join. If people look like they want to talk to you, then do that. It also means it's easier to do the final thing, which is to let go, to let other people, you know, give them the gift of going out and sort of meeting other people. But before you do that, commit, get a ring on it, you know. Make sure that you get their contact details. We've all got little scans. We've already had that a couple of times today, which has been quite nice. Useful. So that might be useful as you head out. So I guess any questions would be our final thing.
Yeah, we're open.
Oh, and
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You were a lovely crowd.
Thank you.
Questions? Yes.
There's a lady with a microphone.
Thanks, that was great. You alluded to it in the sort of weather slide about, you know, the mix between humans and automation. And I suppose when you read stuff at the moment, it can be quite anxiety-inducing around, you know, what will be left for us to get paid to do. How would you overlay that sort of thing on top of these models? So not just thinking about where you want to grow or whatever, but like, what does the world look like in 5 years' time?
Thank you for asking that question, because there was a whole chunk that I didn't get a chance to put into this section of the presentation, which is talking about mattering and how actually we've talked about presentation being really important in businesses, but that's what makes people feel happier. It's our innate sense of wanting to feel, you know, that we matter. So we're useful, we're valuable to somebody, and somebody's valuable to us. And that's about celebrating your uniqueness. So in this time where we're starting to think about those automations, there's things that you can do that you have a point of view on because of your lived experience that make you unique at what you do, and that you can use to overcome. So it's I mean, yeah, as a molecular biologist, you know, retired, it's trying to find your niche. And the most important thing, I think, is what Dina was saying earlier on. It's like making sure you're working towards things that you're good at and you like doing.
It's like kind of around also being adaptable and flexible, because the world will always change. Like it's kind of like this willingness to learn and just keep adapting. And I'm sure a lot changed for you to get here, and then it will keep changing. So it's about the adaptability, what you can actually control versus what you can't control.
And the redundancy gives you time. You know, I mean, like I have to admit, I'm a recent. I've tried for the first week using Gemini with some of my code, because I've been a staunch like, I don't need AI to help me do what I do, and it just opens up. Suddenly, I've got because I've got I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about the ingenuity of a brain to go right now. You can do that. I can now think here, here, and here. So, you know, redundancy is not it's never thought of as being a positive thing, but it actually does have useful outcomes. Does that help?
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
I was just going to add to that, having been in the place for about a little bit longer than life. I've gone through the dot-com bubble, which is going to destroy industry, and now AI is doing it, and everybody's had to go and
Right.
clean up after themselves.
Stick to facts, not opinions, right?
Don't believe the hype.
Yep.
Thank you so much to our amazing speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
And good luck.
So we're now just breaking for lunch. There's 2 lunch bars in the centre outside. And then for gluten-free, if you go to the Resolution Centre upstairs at reception. Thank you.